Hello and welcome back to our series on modding for beginners for Europa Universalis IV. My name is Alex or Midgeman, and I am one of your community ambassadors, and together with members of the modding community, I have been going through and teaching you the very basics of modding Europa Universalis IV. Today is the final part in this initial beginners series, and we are going to be covering how to create a mission tree. By the end of the video, you'll be able to do the following. Create a unique mission file for your country, and create 3 missions that connect to one another, each having different effects and requirements. To start, let's open up our mod directory and create a folder called Missions. In that folder, create a file called myfirstmissiontree.txt. Inside this file will be our mission tree. Mission placement. Before we get into the actual code of a mission tree, it is important to understand how mission trees are laid out. It's best to think of them like a grid. There are 5 columns and an infinite amount of potential rows. Each mission needs to be within a column and a row. To create a column, you need to type this into your code. mfm_slot_1 equals curly brackets. We wrote mfm_slot_1 here for the name of the first column, but it can be any name. It's useful to use numbers and letters though, so that when you need to edit extremely long mission files, you can easily search and find the specific slots you need to. Now we're going to add another slot. Slot equals 1. The integer on the right side of slot is the column where this mission will appear. So if we make slot equals 1, it will place the mission in the first column. If we make the slot equals 2, it would instead put the mission in the second column. Now, we're going to add a few things. Going in order, generic is a Boolean trigger. If set to yes, then it will be considered a generic mission. This is important to set to know if you want these missions to be considered unique. AI is a Boolean trigger, which determines if the AI can complete missions in this set. Has country shield is a Boolean trigger which will determine if the country shield appears on the top of the mission. And finally, potential, which allows you to put in any country triggers. This will determine who to load the missions for. In our case, we are loading them specifically for our country. Now, with our current setup, we will still get the generic mission trees for slot 2, 3, 4, and 5. If we want to make sure our entire mission tree is unique, we need to copy what we just created and set it for slot 2, 3, 4, and 5, like so. An important reminder here is the slots must have different names or you will run into errors when the game tries to load missions. But with that in mind, we can start creating our missions. Creating our first mission. We will start by creating a mission in the slot mfm_slot_3. To do this, we type the name of the mission inside of slot 3. Our mission name will be mfm_first_mission, and like always, we will follow it with an equals and open some brackets. Inside these brackets is where our mission will go. Our goal for this mission is to have the trigger be 100% of our force limit, and at least 1 general. And the reward will be permanent claims over the Ostro-Svealand area, in addition to 50 military power. The first thing we want to do is add an icon. Icons are the bits of art that are present inside the mission shield. You can see all the possible icons by going to the EU4 local files, going to GFX, going into the interface folder, and going into the missions folder, and looking through the base game and DLC mission folders. If we go there, I see the icon for mission_assemble_an_army. So I copy the title and paste it into my missions like so. An important note, sometimes the name of the mission icon file is not the correct GFX code that you need to put in the icon line. If that is the case, you have 2 options. You can go into the mission tree and find out what the icon code is. To do that, go to the EU4 local files and then go to the missions folder and click any of the files to see what GFX code to use. I recommend doing this as well if you find yourself stuck on creating a mission, as oftentimes you can find inspiration or solutions for problems you're looking for by looking through the base game code. The other option is to go into the EU4 local files, go into the interface folder, and there are a series of file names with the name mission icons_, which should list all of the different DLC mission icons. Next, we're going to add 4 different sections into our mission. Required_missions, provinces _2 highlight, triggers, and effects. Let's go step by step. The required missions lets the game know what missions must be complete before this one can be completed. To do this, just put any mission name inside the brackets to make it work. It will also create an arrow connecting the two mission icons, which does have some rules to them. If two missions are in the same column, the arrow can connect them together no problem, no matter the distance of rows. If it's one row down, that's fine. If there's 3, that's fine. If it's 15, that is fine. However, if the mission is in a different column, it must only be one row down. So, if the first mission is in column 2 and the second mission is in column 3, it must be only one row below it. Otherwise, a graphical error will occur. The same will occur if the second mission is a row above the first mission. The graphical error is quite unpleasant to look at, so while not technically game breaking, it is highly recommended to avoid it. Similarly, required missions is not a required aspect, and since this is our first mission, we can leave it blank for now. The province to highlight lets us know which province it should highlight for the missions. Triggers in this section should be within the province scope, not the usual country scope. For example, if you wanted to highlight a specific province, you would type province_ID equals followed by the province ID. If you wanted to highlight an area or region, you would want to do the following: area equals followed by the area name. An important aspect to remember with this is since it's a province scope, you cannot just put multiple different areas. For example, if we did this, we would be asking the game to highlight any provinces located in 2 different areas, which can't happen, so it would highlight nothing. To make this work properly, you need to use an OR statement, which would highlight any provinces in either of the 2 areas, like so. Similarly, if you want to make sure this area is not highlighting certain provinces, you can simply add a not clause followed by a trigger. The most common thing modders want to avoid is highlighting provinces that our country already owns. To do this, you would add the following: country _or_non_sovereign_subject_holds is an extremely important trigger, as it checks if you or any of your subjects that are non-sovereign, so it would include vassals but exclude tributaries for example, own that province. You can put any province scope or trigger in here, so it's quite flexible with what you might want to highlight. Our mission doesn't need this, so we'll leave ours blank. Next is the trigger. This can take any country scope trigger that you want to include. Since we want to check our country has 100% army force limit size and at least one general, we will add these 2 triggers here. Triggers can be anything the player might want them to be in a country scope, and can even have province scopes nested within them. So it truly has many different options to mess around with to create a perfect mission. Last but not least, we want to add an effect. The effect is also country scope and can have province scopes nestled within it. We will do both. First, let's add the country scope effect. Add _mil_power equals 50. Next, we need to set it so we gain a permanent claim over all of the Ostra-Svealand area. To do this, we need to add the area as a scope. Ostra_Svealand_area equals. Then inside this area scope, we want to add the effect, add permanent claim. This will grant us a permanent claim over this entire area. If you want a list of all of the areas and provinces they have in them, go to the base game EU4 files, go to the map folder, and open up the area.txt file. With that, we've completed our first mission. Here's a few more things we can add if we want to. The position line. By adding the position line, you can tell which row to put our mission in, with 1 being the very top of the mission tree. If we had a mission available in column 3, and we put another mission in column 3, it would automatically go to row 2. If we had no missions in column 4, it would go to row 1. The position line is optional, so if you choose not to put it in, the missions will load into the first available row. In our case, if we do not add it in, our mission will be in the top row. Completed_by equals X determines if the AI automatically completes the mission by whatever date you put in for X, regardless if they meet the triggers or not. If not put in, the AI would have to complete the mission normally. Creating our second mission. Now, let's create another mission. This one will check if we own all of Ostra-Svealand. and will grant us claims over all of Scandinavia. We're going to keep this in the same column as our last one, so let's start by adding our mission here. We're going to reuse the same icon for our own sake. The required mission here will be the previous mission. We have multiple provinces to highlight this time around, so we want to add all of the highlighted provinces in the Ostravsveland area that we do not own. We do that with the following code. Next, we want to add our trigger. Here, we're going to use the area scope of Ostravsveland again, and we want to make sure we add in a type equals all trigger. This tells the game that we want all of the provinces in the area to have this condition return true, rather than any single province. Finally, let's add our effect. Effect equals curly brackets, Scandinavia underscore region equals add underscore permanent underscore claim equals root. And with that, our second mission is complete. Creating our third mission. For this last mission, I want to create a mission that is in the fourth column and is in the second row, which requires our first mission to be complete. To do this, I go to our fourth slot and add the following. Here, the position forces the mission to be in row 2, and that the required mission will create an arrow that connects it to the first mission. If we attempted to put it in the row above MFM underscore first underscore missions, or in the same row as that mission, it would cause that graphical bug we mentioned earlier. For this mission, we want to check that we have built a temple in our capital province and gain 2 base tax in our capital as an effect. Let's start with the province to highlight. For this mission, we'll be using the capital underscore scope, which will make our scope our capital province, which in our country's case, Upland. In our code, we want our province to highlight our capital unless we have a temple building in our capital. We're going to add an or statement here. We also want this mission to work if we have a cathedral, the updated version of the temple. We can do this with the following code. Now let's add our trigger. By using capital underscore scope here, we are not checking for a specific province, so if a player decides to move their capital, they can still complete the mission for whatever province they have moved their capital to. Last but not least, let's add our effect. And with that, our third and final mission is complete. However, now we need to localize our missions. Localization. In our localization file that we created all the way back in episode 2, we're going to add localizations for our missions. They all need names and descriptions. So let's grab the name of our missions and add underscore title to the end of it. We're going to add titles that inform the player what the mission is about. The same with our descriptions. We also need to have our descriptions localized as well. Let's do the same for our next 3 missions. With that done, upon loading up our game, we should see our game with the correct triggers, effects, placement, and localization. Thank you so much for watching this modding guide series. Let us know in the comments what mod you're going to try and make, and let us know in future what topics of modding you'd like us to cover in more detail. Remember to leave a like and subscribe to the Europa Universalis channel for more Europa Universalis news, guides, gameplay, and content. We'll see you next time.